Alright, before you get started, there are some things you need for every single one of these swords. You need your core. Basically, this is what holds the foam onto it and what you use for the handle. The easiest one to get is a PVC pipe. I've seen some people say you can use a fiberglass pipe or rod or a bamboo stick, but I have no idea where you can get those. Don't use a dowel rod or broomstick or anything made out of wood, because if it hits too hard, it's going to break, and then you're going to have to tear it all apart and remake it. You're also going to need a hacksaw, just so you can cut the core, a utility knife so you can cut the foam, duct tape so you can cover the foam and make it look whatever way you want. You can get different colors at Walmart and craft stores, and some pennies so that you can tape to the end of the core so it doesn't wind up going through the foam, because it has the little hole in it, and a Sharpie so you can obviously mark the foam, and something to use as your grip. A lot of people say to use electrical tape. Yeah, it's a good, decent grip. I don't like it. I like to use, well, I call it hockey tape. It's basically fabric tape, fabric that has a sticky side to it, so it's fabric and your hand really grips to it. Alright, the first sword that I'm going to be showing you how to make is the Fun Noodle sword. The problem with the Fun Noodle swords is the Fun Noodles are only available in stores when they're selling pool toys. So if you're wanting to make one of these during the winter, you can make it, or at least one that looks like it, with pipe insulation. So get a small one to go over your core and a larger one to go over that. You're probably going to wind up with a gap in the second pipe insulation, so just take access and throw it in there and tape it down. And I'm not going to go over amp guard regulation sizes for these swords, because I don't play with an official amp guard group. Me and my friends just go to the park and goof around. But once you have your core cut to the length you need, with regulation, that the sizes mean from end to end, from the foam, not the pipe. So figure out how much foam you're going to be putting on the end of it, plus your access. With the Fun Noodles, I usually put about 2 inches on the end, and then at least for the hole, an inch for the hole, and then you pack that in with some more foam, and then you cap it. So once you have that figured out, how much you're going to have on the pipe, figure out how much room you're going to need for your hands, mark it, measure out how much noodle you're going to need for the blade, plus access. And once you have that taken care of, you need to cover your ends so that the pipe doesn't wind up going through the foam and jabbing somebody's eye out. So take your penny, stick it on over the hole of the pipe, and just tape it down. Self-explanatory. You can just do it all messy, or you can do it nice and neat. Doesn't matter, you're not going to see it. Okay, now once you've gotten both your ends covered, take your Fun Noodle. I always start with the blade. So what? And take it down to that line where you wanted it to stop. Now the Fun Noodle is a little loose on the PVC pipes, so that when it gets hit, it might rattle a little bit. And if you want to get rid of that rattle, just take some duct tape and just wrap it in chunks to get the thickness of the hole periodically down your core so that it doesn't rattle. So take your Fun Noodle, take it down to the mark, and then tape it to your pipe. Alright, now once you've gotten one end of your noodle taped to the pipe so it's not going to move, you need to take some more foam and just pack it into the hole, so there's more of a cushion for the pipe, so it's less of a chance to jab somebody's eye out. And once your hole is all stuffed, you need to figure out how big to make your cap. So just take your Fun Noodle, lay it over the top of the Fun Noodle that's on the blade, and cut it right there. So now you have the width of your cap that it needs to be. So now just take that and cut it in half. That way you have caps for both ends of your fun noodle. Now it is kind of misshapen, so just go ahead and just trim it up to kind of give it more of a rounded end to it, so it's not so funny looking. Now that you've got that cut to size, tape it down to your blade. Okay, now you can start covering your noodle with whatever colored tape you want. A lot of people just take their tape, throw it on there, and they've got all this nasty mess on the end of it. So what I like to do is I take the tape that I want to use, start at the end that's by the handle, take it straight up, and then cut it off at the end. And then slice the tape into 2 or 3 slices, and then you can just fold it over so that you get a nice, neat little coverage. Alright, now that you've got your blade tape, if you want a guard on the hilt, just cut out some more fun noodle, the width you want the guard to be, find your center and put a hole in it so that it can go over the pipe. Stick it on there and just tape it down. Okay, now once you've got your blade and the guard on, if you want, now you're going to just put on your hilt. Just the same exact way you did the blade. Stick it on there, tape it down, stuff it, and cap it. Alright, now to start putting the grip on your sword, I always like using the same tape I'm using for my grip and putting it on my hilt because I don't like all the nasty mess the duct tape has at the bottom of it. So I just take the tape and put strips of it going over the tops, so that's covered. It's a lot easier to cover your handle because putting strips going down that way, because you can't very easily wrap it around all this tape that's coming down, and do the same thing on this part. And once you have that taken care of, you can go ahead and then start taking your tape and then do your handle. For this one, you're going to need 3 or 4 driveway markers. You know, it's whatever you're comfortable with having for a handle, pipe insulation, and some 1/2-inch camping pad that you can get at Walmart. And it's a lot easier to cut the camping pad if you have one of these yardsticks. Alright, to start off, you just take your driveway markers, cut them off to the size you want them to be. Be sure you cut out the ends with the tips of them. And then cover those with your pennies, and just so it's not rattling around, cover it with tape. And then, you know, measure out how much blade you want, how much hilt you want. On these, I usually keep 1 inch of pipe insulation on the hilt and 1 inch hanging off. Same goes for the blade, 1 inch hanging off, stuff it, and then cap it. So once you have that all figured out, take your pipe insulation that's cut to the size of your blade with the access, and because it has the split on it, you want to tape that over. And just like the fun noodle, you just tape it down as normal. Alright, now once you have the blade taped to the handle, now you're going to be cutting up a strip of that 1/2-inch camping pad that is the width of the pipe insulation. I forget which one I was using. Okay. And what you want to do with this is you want to take, see, it's just the thickness of it, just putting it on one side, just start taking it and put it at the end of the blade and tape it down, and just keep taping it all the way to the top. And when you get to the top, you want some access that's going over, because you're going to be taking it folding it over the top after you have stuffed the hole. Yeah, I almost forgot to do that. I also like this sort because it's nice and slim, so you can really fly with it. It's about the same weight as the Fun Noodles, but it's nice and sleek so you can get in there. So you just fold over the camping pad over the top. This is your cap. Tape it down to hold it in place, and then just cut it off on the back side. And tape that down. Cut your hilt out, you know how much is on the handle, how much is hanging off. And then hold it down onto the camping bed and cut yourself out a little circular disc to go over that to use as your cap. Now the alternative to covering your blade instead of using tape, with these on your daggers you can use a pair of socks, but for your short swords and long swords you can actually take a couple pairs of stockings and cover your blade. Now you're going to need about 3 or 4 of them so that you know you can't see the pipe insulation and the camping pad. And you just get one on there and tape it down because it is going to start coming back on you. Alright, now once you've got your blade covered, wrap your handle like you would with the other sword. But for this one, you know, obviously you're going to be needing your core. The easiest one to use for making this is your PVC pipe because it's just the right perfect size. You're also going to be needing your 1/2 inch camping pad, a bolt, and some washers. This is going to be your counterweight because the blade's going to be heavy and the handle's going to be light if you don't put this on there. And you're also going to be needing some spray adhesive. Okay, to get started, once you have your core cut to the size you want it to be, put your penny on it, but only on one side because you're going to be putting the bolt on the other. To start making the blade, cut a 2-inch wide piece of the camping pad. That is the length of the blade it's going to be. Add about 2 inches because you're going to have to fold it over the top. Do another length of the blade and then add 1 inch or 2 to that, just so you know it's not too short and you're going to have to cut it again. And once you have your first one cut, let's see what have we got. Okay. Now take your spray adhesive and spray the first part of what the blade is going to be. Obviously, you want to cover your work area unless you want to listen to your parents whine and complain. Clean that mess up! Now you want to put the end that you put the penny on it right in the middle of that 2-inch pad. And just try and center it as best you can. And hold it there for just a little bit.